Welcome to News Mongolia, where we bring you the latest stories and updates from across the nation and beyond. I'm Batsirin Namshar. On the News Mongolia today, 21 parties and 2 coalitions receive candidacy approval from the General Election Commission. Mongolia's foreign trade surpasses $6 billion in the first quarter of 2024. The Deputy Defense Minister of Japan makes an official visit to Mongolia to strengthen bilateral defense cooperation. For the news, stay tuned. "26 political parties and 2 coalitions have formally submitted their applications to the General Election Commission of Mongolia to participate in this year's regular election for the Parliament of Mongolia. On May 2nd, 21 parties and 2 coalitions received approval from the General Election Commission.
The General Election Commission has emphasized its commitment to transparency and adherence to legal frameworks, committing to an open and impartial electoral process. They wished all of the participating parties and coalitions good luck. The leaders of the political parties and coalitions have pledged to uphold the Constitution, the law on elections, and all relevant statutes throughout the electoral process. The General Election Commission established a working group to oversee the meticulous review process for the submitted applicants and documents from each party and coalition, under Article 28, Section 28.2 of the law on elections. The General Election Commission must decide on the registration of parties and coalitions within 5 days of receiving their documentation. The parties and coalitions eligible to run in the elections will choose nominees from May 14th to 20th. The candidates must submit declarations of assets and income to the Independent Authority Against Corruption by May 23rd. The General Election Commission will review candidate registration by June 1st and will inform the public of the results and issue candidate registration cards by June 10. Election campaigning starts on the day a candidate's card is issued and ends at midnight on June 27th. Voting will take place on June 28th.
Mongolia has kicked off 2024 with robust international trade, engaging with a record 128 countries and achieving significantly foreign trade turnover of $6.1 billion in the first quarter of 2024.
According to official reports, the country's exports totaled $3.7 billion, while imports stood at $2.4 billion, resulting in a favorable trade balance of $1.2 billion. Mongolia's foreign exchange reserves soared to $5.25 billion, indicating a healthy economic position. Despite the overall positive performance, exports experienced a slight dip compared to the same period last year. The decrease of $107.5 million was primarily attributed to declines in key export commodities. Zinc, ore, and concentrates saw a decrease of $74.4 million, followed by coal dropping by $38.7 million. Horse meat exports dipped by $32.6 million, while canned meat products experienced a decline of $31.6 million. While these decreases may present challenges, Mongolia's diversified trade portfolio and substantial foreign exchange reserves position the country well to navigate fluctuations in the global market. As the year progresses, stakeholders will closely monitor trade dynamics to capitalize on emerging opportunities and address potential challenges.
In the ongoing collaboration between the defense ministries of Mongolia and Japan, the Deputy Minister of Defense of Japan, Makoto Oniki, made an official visit to Mongolia on May 5th to 6th. He was welcomed by Mongolia's Deputy Minister of Defense, Bair Magne, and the discussions revolved around enhancing bilateral defense ties and cooperation.
The visit follows a meeting between the defense ministers of both nations in February. The deputy ministers agreed on executing previously discussed initiatives, bolstering defense research and analysis, and advancing joint projects and programs.
The Japanese deputy minister visit will play an important role in expanding regional defense and security cooperation. Major military drills and training will be conducted jointly. In addition, Mongolian military medics will be able to learn and exchange best practices with their Japanese counterparts. Expanding bilateral defense cooperation will contribute to maintaining peace and stability in the region and boosting cooperation between our two countries.
As part of his visit agenda, Makoto Oniki paid homage to the Japanese Citizens Memorial and toured the Mongolian Army Land Forces Command to familiarize himself with their operational procedures.
Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Now let's take a look at international news from our partner agencies. French President Emmanuel Macron and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen held a trilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Paris on Monday. Both Macron and von der Leyen welcomed warm relations between the EU and China in their opening remarks.
Xi arrived at the Elysee Palace on Monday for a two-day state visit that is expected to focus both on trade disputes and diplomatic efforts to convince Beijing to use its influence to move Russia toward ending the war in Ukraine. Macron, a strong advocate of Europe's economic sovereignty, wants to raise French concerns about the Chinese anti-dumping investigation into cognac and other European brandy, and tensions over French cosmetics and the other sectors.
The international situation, very clearly, requires more than ever this Euro-Chinese dialogue. And, as I said recently while talking about Europe, we are at a turning point of our history, which forces us to face and overcome structural difficulties.
The European Union and China want good relations, and given the global weight of China, our engagement is key to ensure mutual respect, to avoid misunderstanding, and to find solutions to global challenges.
In a recent speech, he denounced trade practices of both China and the United States as shoring up protections and subsidies. The EU launched an investigation last fall into Chinese subsidies and could impose tariffs on electric vehicles exported from China. Paris is the first stop on Xi's European trip, seeking to rebuild relations at a time of global tensions. After France on Monday and Tuesday, he will head to Serbia and Hungary.
The European Union took a major step in ending its legal standoff with member state Poland on Monday, with the Executive Commission saying it plans to withdraw its 6-year procedure over rule of law complaints now that new Prime Minister Donald Tusk has initiated the necessary changes.
Today, the European Commission has finalized its analysis on the rule of law situation in Poland in the context of the Article 7(1) procedure. The Commission considers that there is no longer a clear risk of a serious breach of the rule of law in Poland. The Commission therefore intends to withdraw its recent proposal from 2017 and close the Article 7(1) procedure. This follows the action plan presented in February by the Polish government. Poland has launched a series of legislative and non-legislative measures to address the concerns on independence of the justice system, It has recognized the primacy of EU law and is committed to implementing all the relevant judgments of the Court of Justice of the European Union and of the European Court of Human Rights.
The move follows a February decision to already start releasing billions of euros that were frozen over what the bloc said were the previous Polish government's backsliding on democratic principles. Tusk has been working hard since taking office in December to overturn measures enacted by the previous conservative government. The EU and Poland had been at loggerheads after the stridently nationalist Law and Justice Party came to power in 2015 and implemented reforms that critics said placed Poland's judiciary under political control. The European Union threatened to suspend Poland's EU voting rights and also blocked its access to European Union's funds.
Now let's take a look at global current affairs.
An Israeli airstrike on northeastern Lebanon wounded 3 people and destroyed a building, Lebanon's state-run national news agency said on Monday. The strike on the village of Safri early Monday targeted a factory in the eastern Bekaa Valley, the agency said without giving further details. The Israeli military said its fighter jets struck a Hezbollah military structure in Safri. Monday's strike came after a tense day along the Lebanon-Israel border, during which an Israeli airstrike on a village near the border killed 4 Lebanese civilians. The militant Hezbollah group said it fired dozens of rockets in retaliation toward northern Israel. The Lebanon-Israel border has seen almost daily exchange of fire since the day after the Israel-Hamas war started on October 7th. Israeli strikes have killed more than 350 people in Lebanon, most of them fighters with Hezbollah and allied groups, with also including more than 50 civilians. In Israel, the strikes from Lebanon have killed at least 10 civilians and 12 soldiers.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for Mongolia and the world major cities. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you on Wednesday with more news and updates. Goodbye.